Welcome to the For the Church Podcast, another great gospel-centered resource from Midwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. My name is Jared Wilson. I'm an assistant professor of pastoral ministry at Spurgeon College, the undergraduate institution of Midwestern Seminary, also General Mills serial, also general editor, and a great public speaker, as always. Right. General editor of For the Church. And I'm here with the managing editor. Hey. Ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not, we were able to get the guy who actually manages editorial. We went straight to the middle on this one, not to the top, not to the bottom, but the managing editor of For the Church.
Wow.
Ronni Kurtz.
This is an introduction.
Yeah, it's good to be with you.
It's good to be with you, brother. How are you?
I'm doing all right. This is coming out way in the future, but I'm excited about Christmas shopping.
Amen.
Can I bring that up on an episode that's probably going to air like March or something?
At that point, that's when a lot of retailers start putting out Christmas stuff. So.
That's exactly right. No, you got to get like Halloween comes out in July.
That's right.
Once they get all the red, white, and blue stuff out, they bring the Halloween.
Yeah, and
it might be good. So like we're recording this. There's still a month left of Christmas.
Uh-huh.
When people hear this for the first time, it'll be like 100-something days to Christmas. So it's a good kind of looking forward episode.
Yeah, Christmas 21 is going to be great.
And if 21 is as terrible as 20,
surely not.
You might want to be thinking about Christmas in March. Maybe. My wife put up our Christmas tree in this year of 2020, which we're recording this. This is some stellar programming that we're doing here.
This is Christopher Nolan stuff.
Yeah,
here.
Like 2020, she put up the Christmas tree literally before November.
Amen.
It was like it was before Halloween.
Wait, I saw you post online. You had Halloween decorations outside.
Yes,
this is right, and you had Christmas decorations inside.
That's correct. Because outwardly we are wasting away.
And you had turkey somewhere.
Inwardly we are being renewed day by day.
That's
so
great.
It was a metaphor. My house was a metaphor.
Wow.
Halloween outside, Christmas inside.
And you didn't even think gospel centrality could make it into a design, but here we are.
Here we are. I'm here with Ronni Kurtz, who is the managing editor of For the Church and assistant director of marketing.
That's right.
Yeah, he gave me this look like, are you really going to get this wrong for the 48th time? I was going to get it right. You didn't have to jump in.
You got
assistant director of marketing.
Yeah.
We're talking about something really important today, the subject of gossip. Like we haven't covered this before, which is interesting because I was trying to think of what are some things that impact and affect churches, and looking back over the things that we have covered, all kinds of ministerial things. Usually we're on the leadership level, and I think we should talk about that, how leadership can address the issue of gossip. But I think this is a tricky one because there are sometimes people who they bring a subject up or they ask you about somebody, and you're not sure, is this gossip?
Yeah. Is
it not gossip? How do we know? Because some definitions simply say, confidential sharing of information about others, right? That alone is gossip. I don't know if you would agree with that or not. I mean, it can be.
Yeah.
I think you would agree that it can be.
Definitely.
Would you say that it always is? Like, what is gossip?
Yeah, I don't know that I would necessarily say that's always the case there.
The Bible doesn't say gossip is.
Yeah.
It just uses the word gossip. Paul warns against it at least 3 times and equates it as a very serious sin.
Yes.
He puts it in a list with murder and different things like that. So this isn't just some little, white lie type deal we're talking about.
And the hard part in the church with this particular topic with gossip is there are biblically mandated things that we are to do that can actually, in the lives of an immature believer, border on gossip. So, for example, bearing one another's burdens can often look like telling about the problems of one individual to another individual such that you guys can now team up to help them to bear their burden.
Right.
And even church discipline, if handled poorly, can borderline on gossip. And so I think a really helpful, just kind of diagnostic question about gossip is, so if we use your definition that you just said about, confidential sharing of information, well, is it a confidential sharing of information that is for the good of that person? If you can't answer yes on that, you might be in trouble. And I think that's a helpful diagnostic.
Yeah, and the Lord knows the heart, because there are plenty of people, confidential, we may need to take this out of the definition, but there's plenty of people who share things, for instance, online about others. that to me sounds like gossip. But they're doing it publicly, so it's not a confidential whispering. It's a public declaration of some salacious information about others. So just, for instance, this past year, and this is going to sound like a kind of a headline issue, but there was a newspaper headline that some bad treatment by or mistreatment or some foible that was pretty significant, not a moral failing per se, but just something really embarrassing by a prominent pastor. That's what the article said. It didn't name the person, which is like part of the problem perhaps. It just said a well-known pastor in a certain state did this thing.
That's really a vague headline.
It is, and that was a newspaper. And so And certainly they kind of stepped into it themselves, because all that does for some people is go, well, who might that be? And it just creates a kind of speculation of who it would be and why the newspaper people wouldn't share it. So then it blows up, and you end up with all kinds of insinuations about, man, he's so powerful he can control the media and da 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 da.
Yeah.
Well, there was a whole series, of course, and it's the usual suspects, but and back in the day, we might have called them discernment bloggers. I don't think they show a whole lot of discernment, and for years have not shown a lot of discernment. So they're not really discernment bloggers; they're gossip bloggers.
That's exactly right.
And they love this stuff.
Yep.
And so for weeks, when this newspaper thing was, when this article was hanging out there, you had them not just declaring or sharing who they thought it might be based on the location and that kind of thing. Famous pastor in a certain state. We're actually naming, people and dragging their names through the mud and contacting their churches, and in a few cases I saw harassing their wives, like, why aren't you, revealing this information, and da 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 da. So none of that was confidential.
Yeah,
it was all public. But I think your focus on is it for the building up of someone versus for their harm. But even those people would say, oh, I don't hate them.
Yeah.
This is for
love.
This is for the good of the church. Exactly. Yeah. This is for the good of the church, or this is prophetic, right? That I'm, gossiping about people, or that I'm saying these people might have done this, and they probably did because they're not responding to my emails. That kind of.
Yeah, publicly bearing false witness can be its own form of gossip.
That's right, because it's spread. I think that's something too. Is like it has like a grapevine quality to it.
Yeah.
Whether it's behind the scenes or up in front, like a tabloid type thing. It has the intention is to defame someone and have it spread, that more people would share in the defaming.
It's so interesting that people want to do that, right? Like that. I just don't wake up wanting to enter into another controversy, and that maybe it's because
there's people who thrive on that.
Yeah,
though.
I know.
That's what gets them up in the morning.
What is interesting is I even recently reread. It was actually Ray Ortland has written an article on gossip, and he makes an interesting point about the power that being the one who's gossiping gives you. And it's all fake power, right? Because think about this. If you're the gossiper in this scenario, you get to be the one who has secret information or hidden information, and it makes you feel, powerful and responsible there. You get to cut another brother down or their sister down. It might make you feel proud. And so there's a lot of gossip seems to be, it is a sin in itself, but it can be symptomatic of a lot of underlining sins that you have within you that lead you to the point of even wanting to gossip or wanting to bear false witness publicly.
Yeah. So I just want to tell you, so this friend of ours, he's really struggling.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Well, but
what's the scuttlebutt?
Yeah, exactly. The scuttlebutt. You've heard that,
of course, yes,
and you've probably
got to pray for this person. Because
I don't want to guess, but I've done that, brother. And so you would say the difference, like how you're gossiping, is you're really meaning someone harm versus you really do have a concern, a love for them. Like if I go to my pastor and say, I'm really concerned about so and so, and because of this pattern of behavior that I've been witnessing, or I'm afraid, and I'm not telling them so that my pastor will come down on them or hate them or whatever, but genuinely to say, what should we do?
Yeah.
That's not gossip, is it?
Yeah. I think Christians need wisdom here, because honestly, I think is this for the person's good or building them up is a good diagnostic question. Maybe another helpful diagnostic question would be, am I willing to get skin in the game here? Like if I express concern to my pastor and they say, hey, bro, that's a good concern. Why don't you get involved? Like, why don't you go talk to that brother? That's right. Why don't you take them out to coffee or actually, put something on the line for their good? You should, as a church member, of course, the question or the answer to the question, am I my brother's keeper, is emphatically yes. And so if you truly are concerned, then be your brother's keeper.
Yeah. So in Proverbs, we find this phrase, crooked speech, or speech that is crooked. And it certainly speaks to dishonesty, something that's not straightened out, right? Mm-hmm. So, but I sometimes think that it also applies to this kind of circuitous thing. Like I'm going to talk about somebody, but not to them. It's a crooked trajectory. And I once heard, this is probably going to be the only time I'll ever quote Andy Stanley favorably on the podcast. But he said in a talk once that gossip is when you are unwilling to talk to someone, but overly willing to talk about them.
That's a good word.
And it was a good word, and is a good word, and that has like stuck with me.
Yeah.
Because it's exactly right. I think one of the evidence is that you do want their help, that you're not, or you want them to be helped, and not just their harm, is that you're willing actually to help them, and not just try to like unload your concern about them to someone else. That you're going around, it's a crooked kind of journey there. You ever been gossiped about?
Oh, surely. I'm a pastor.
Well, yeah. It's impossible to avoid, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, without a doubt.
I mean, it's happened to me so many times, even before I was a pastor, but certainly after as well. And it's awful, isn't it?
It is.
I had a fellow elder once describe it as being, blindfolded while people come and hit you. So you're being assaulted, but you don't know by who.
Yep.
And you feel like doubly vulnerable there.
And there's something anti-gospel about gossip, right? Because the gospel is the news of someone laying down their rights for the good of someone else. Gossip is cutting down someone else for your good. And in that way, gossip is very anti-gospel.
Yeah, it is it's a toxin because of the spread. And that's it has that connotation of like the salacious morsels, the spicy bits or something like that. That so it infects and it spreads, and other people find it tasty as well. And try this, and it just begins to it can kill a church.
Oh yes,
it can certainly divide a church, but it can kill a church. So
I've learned a funny phrase. When someone starts off any piece of news like this to me, they say, hey, don't tell anyone else this, but I say, ooh, I'll make sure to say that to the next guy.
Don't tell anyone else this, but
that's right.
I'll tell it to the next guy. That's good, Ronni Kurtz. You know what? New dad, that's a good,
thanks,
it's
man.
Not quite a dad joke,
but
it's
like, it's dad talk.
It's one of those, it's dad talk. It definitely is. Okay, so you already gave us some pastoral advice on what a leader should do when he hears something that could be gossip, perhaps not, but the way you might test it out is saying, hey, why don't you go help that person? What are some other things that we should do in response to gossip? Maybe proactively to prevent it, but also when you hear it, what do you do?
Yeah, I think proactively to prevent it is you should name it as sin from the pulpit, because the scriptures do. So, right? So, preventative church discipline from the pulpit is always helpful. And then I do think helping think through those kinds of diagnostic questions is good, because as you're hearing it, or as you are even yourself talking about another person, you can kind of think through, does this meet the criteria of building the brother up for the sake of their good, or does this scratch an itch of me trying to be powerful or demeaning or some way? And I think if your people have a clear understanding of the guidelines of church discipline, right? A lot of people think of church discipline as the final formal excommunication, but that's not what's happening. Often discipline is preventative or corrective, and so having a robust understanding of the one another's in the New Testament can actually prevent gossip.
Yeah, I also just think bringing things into the light, responding to things, and this is really a measure of real discernment and real wisdom. There have been times where people have said things about me and it has spread, and I've tried addressing it in individual means, confronting it, and it's not like I can't stop it. The vine has gone beyond, and I've thought this might be something that I actually may need to address publicly in some way. And it feels gross, and no pastor wants to do that because you feel like you're dignifying it, first of all. You also may amplify it. You mention it publicly, then others are like, oh, I hadn't heard that, but now they have, and now they have, they're tempted. But I also think that, there may be a time to do that. There may be a time, Pastor, when you are being maligned, maybe slandered. There are campaigns against you. You don't want to lead, preach, pastor from a place of defensiveness and retribution or anything like that. But there may be, such a thing where there's an elephant in the room and it's about you and it's wrong or dishonest or unfair or unjust. And actually as a means of protection of the church, not just for you, you could in the appropriate forum, maybe members meeting or something, stand up and say, hey, this isn't right. And just because it's me being attacked doesn't mean that I shouldn't address it, right? And you may think this is me being defensive and what have you, but I'm being sinned against, and I'm a member of this church, even though I'm, the pastor. I'm still a member of this church, and have a right to say, this is wrong. What you're doing against me is wrong. I wouldn't rule out even that option, properly understood, properly applied. I think shining the light on it is a great way to kill.
It's funny when you get to be around someone who has purposely postured themselves to be anti-gossip. It actually, even for someone like me who gossip's not really a thing I struggle with. I'm sure I've done it, but it's not like I'm always tempted to gossip. That's just not the case. However, the other day I was with a colleague and we're in the process of hiring a few positions in my department. And I need to hire a couple of them particularly. And so I have this one candidate in mind. And so I knew there was a sister in the Lord who has worked closely with him. And so this person had no clue I was considering hiring their friend or whatnot. And I just said, hey, what do you think about this person?
Yeah.
And her response was so wise that it caught me off guard. She said, be more specific because that question's probably going to lead to gossip.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, actually, that's a good word. My question had vagueness baked into it, which was totally like me setting the tee up for this person to gossip about this other person.
Right.
And they just refused from the very beginning. Ask a more specific question because the vagueness is going to lead to gossip.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, man, it caught me in my tracks of you have set your life up to be anti-gossip. And I don't see that very often.
Yeah. So, for themselves, so you ended up asking the right person because they had to check themselves.
Yes, that's right.
But it was also a good word for you going forward. If you were ever to ask anybody else who may not have that check, I need to be more specific. I'm not asking for X, Y, and Z. I'm asking about what do you think about their ability to do this
that's exactly right.
task or something like that, rather than trying to open the door. So people's givenness to gossip. This is a good kind of segue for this because if you don't have that check, if you're not on guard against your own vulnerability to it, what gives rise to it? What gives a propensity? Because I don't think this is something again, I'm sure I've been guilty of it before. I know I've been guilty of this before, but I don't think of myself as, being overly interested. And part of it, honestly, brother, is just who has the time?
Yeah, that's right.
To be, overly concerned about other people's, drama or trying to do this or that. And I wonder if that's the thing because, Paul, compares gossip, or he assigns gossip as a sin to particular kinds of busybodies. They're and he says they're idle. They're going house to house. So, they're being idle. And I think it's people who actually, they're not being productive.
Yep.
They think they are by doing this, but they're actually not busy about the Lord's work.
Yeah.
Doing things that are encouraging and edifying. So they're lazy.
Which is probably why, by the way, discernment bloggers have to redefine gossip as the Lord's work.
Right.
Because they are idle and they're busybodied by doing this.
Yeah. And I mean, they're going from tweet to tweet, is it house to house or account to account. And you see how they move on. They'll just jump onto the latest little outrage or scandal and all that sort of thing. And it's a sign of laziness, of being unproductive. I think you're right about control. There's a kind of narcissism as well. Look at me, what I've got, this information, and look what I'm going to reveal. Look whose life I can alter, all these sorts of things. But even like in the church setting, you want to say to people that are engaged in that, you should be busy loving your neighbor.
Yes.
You should be busy, being some kind of productive member of society, right? Maybe you need a job, or something that. But how unhappy are you? This is a disordered worship. How unhappy are you in the Lord that you need this to thrive, to feel like you have purpose, to feel like you have a mission of some kind? And the worst kind of gossip, especially in the church, is the kind that's masked as
care.
This is kind of the Lord's work. Yeah. But, bless their heart. I'm concerned about. Let's remember to pray for.
Yep. And
really, the motivation is I want you to know this information that I know, so you can think about them the way that I think about them. But some people the repentance needs to come in the form of being busy doing something else.
Absolutely.
Instead of this kind of, lazy affections, lazy worship, lazy hands. That's a real bummer way to end.
Yeah, it is. But it is a good word. I mean, God's glory is at stake and the good of our brothers is at stake.
Yeah.
And
when I
so
turn
we
this
should
off,
care.
I'm going to tell you about somebody that, no, I'm just kidding.
Oh my goodness. He will not, listeners.
I'm going to ask you about somebody. Hey, what do you think about?
And I'll say, ask a more specific question.
That's good. That's good. Hey, here's a specific question. Have you reviewed, for you listener, have you reviewed For the Church?
Hey, look at that.
Have you given us a 5-star review?
The Segway King is back.
Don't half-heart this thing. No 4-star, unless that's the max. If 4 stars is all they're going to give you, 4 stars is acceptable. But if it's a 5-star possibility, we're putting our blood, sweat, and tears into this thing.
Yeah, that's right.
We are working hard. Ronnie's over here with his LaCroix. He's got to hydrate during this thing. 5-star review on iTunes. You told me once nobody listens on iTunes anymore.
I mean,
I
don't say nobody. I'm just a Spotify guy. Like my whole world.
Well, they changed it, so it's Apple Podcast now.
Yeah.
But
Apple
it's the
Podcast.
same thing.
Yeah,
that's where I listen.
Yeah.
But you're a Spotify person.
I'm a Spotify guy through and through.
Like, what are the other ones? Like Pod Burp and Pod. I mean, there's like different weird ones like that.
I'm sure there's a ton. Yeah.
Yeah. So wherever you listen to podcasts, because we want to take over the world.
Whoa, that is new information to me. Yeah.
Have you heard that thing about Jared? He wants to take over the world.
That's not a rumor. That's not gossip.
Yeah, that's
real.
not gossip. I'm out in it right now. I'm shining a light on our. I'm insatiable, and addicted to 5-star reviews. Gotta have them. So get out there, get on the reviews. They've already stopped listening. They're not even listening to this.
They've turned us off.
Like we stopped talking about the subject, and they're like, "I'm not listening to this."
If you're still listening to this, man, you're the best.
Yes. Yeah. You know what? You can give us a 4-star. If you're. Thanks for listening. And until next time, may Jesus be big in your church. You've been listening to the For the Church podcast, hosted by Jared Wilson, found online at ftc.co. This resource is brought to you by Midwestern Baptist Theological Seminary in Kansas City, Missouri, where we train leaders for the church.